The jar is right here. I am going to pick to see which section will be the focus for the next month. And you're not going to get a sneak peek here. I'm going to show the very first shelf at the beginning of the vlog that will post in April. But just for numbers' sake, I will be doing 29. Alright, this is the shelf that got selected. And please note that we were just one off for the R.A. Salvatore stuff, which I love that author. It wouldn't have been horrible, but not nearly as interesting as the random hodgepodge variety that I have here. So I have the Inda series, the very first book, in my high priority section, so I could very well take the easy road out and pick that one. Well, I don't know about easy route. I think it's going to take me like 3 months to read it. But a couple of urban fantasies, a couple of Forgotten Realms, Sharon Shin, an author that I've been quite interested in for a while. And then the Chris Longknife series here. This is one of those that if I love it, awesome, I have them all. If I don't like it, then it will free up quite a bit of space per my project to get a more comfy chair in this room. And then we have John Scalzi's The Last Emperor. This is book 3 in a series I have yet to start, but I could possibly include it for this challenge and just read the whole trilogy. So I need to percolate on this for a little while. I will get back to you and let you know which one I'm going to read. And then from there we'll figure out which ones I'm going to burn, aka donate or recycle, and which ones I'm going to hang on to for the future. Cool stuff. So I did research on a bunch of these titles while sitting here watching TV, and I am ruling out this one because a lot of the reviews say it's an okay urban fantasy, but nothing to write home about. And I'm not sure I'm in the mood for it anyway. This one, according to the way I have it marked, is only available in an ebook format aside from this. So I don't see myself picking this over some of the arcs that I currently have going, because I do only have so much energy and time for that. Okay, I'm also ruling out Sharon Shin. Quite a few of the reviews say it's a fun, quote, light fantasy, but doesn't really have a lot of substance. And that goes for both series here. I have the 12 Houses one, and it got a lot of criticism for being kind of thin. And then here, Summers at Castle Auburn, I liked what the back of the book said. Basically, witchcraft, talent, and adventure. But yeah, the reviews kind of make me think that most people who rated it highly read it when they were younger, and so it's a nostalgia rating more than based on its own merit. And since this one doesn't have a cover, it's going to be a candidate for burning per the series, because I have to ask myself, with like kind of mediocre reviews like that, am I ever going to get around to choosing this over other things? That's kind of how I'm evaluating the burn prospect of this series. Is, do I think I'm going to be excited to pick it up within the next 10 years? I should do 5. And without a cover, I didn't invest anything in it. So yes, more on that later. I also looked up the Lady Pentant series. The first one is Sacrifice of the Widow by Lisa Smeaton. It's a Forgotten Realms one. It takes place in the Underdark with the Drow and the Spider Queen and whatnot. And this one almost won. But I think between this and the other War of the Spider Queen series of like 6 books by that Salvatore was involved with, but it had each book had a separate writer. Between this series and that one, I am more interested in that other one, but I'm just, yeah. It almost won. If I have time, I might pick it up. And these ones also don't have covers. Don't touch that. And then while doing research, this one here, not the best ratings, not the best sci-fi anybody's ever read, but I think based on how many of them I have, the greatest impact I can make to this section of books is to see if I like the series or not. And as I was looking it up, I realized I already own it in audio. So right there, ding, 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 we have a winner. So this will not only fulfill this challenge, it'll fulfill Project Sci-Fi, because it's on that list, and it'll fulfill the goal to listen to more of the audiobooks that I already spent money on. This one's the winner, and actually I'm looking forward to having kind of a lighter sci-fi read in between other things. I feel like this is going to be a really complicated month for me, so I might do this one like before bed or whatever when I don't want anything super complicated. But yeah, I'll update you as I get through it. And hopefully by the end of this book, I should have a definitive answer on whether or not I'm keeping or donating the series. We shall see. I hope I like it. Stuff like this seems right up my alley. It's in the same vein of the stuff that I've really loved. And I bet you, of all of my favorite space opera series, there are equal parts bad reviews and good reviews. So yeah, I'm not ruling it out completely yet. I have kind of a random update for you. So I'm sitting here at work. There is an Audible sale going on, which is reducing the price of a lot of backlist books down to like $3 or $4 a piece. And two of the books on shelf number 29, the Forgotten Realms one and the Sharon Shin one, were available for like $3.30 a piece. It's like, wow, that's awesome. I could buy those for super cheap as an audio, which means I would have more of an opportunity to listen to them. I could get through more of them, but something about it made me question whether or not I really wanted to spend more time and money on these series. It was like, I could get them for cheap and I could probably get through them within this next month, but do I want to? And that turned into this like massive exploration on what my ideals are for my library and what result I want out of this whole process. And okay, this is kind of funny, but I'm writing a book on decluttering and organizing. It's one of my passions. I've consumed so much material on it, and I've kind of got my own system, and I'm writing a book on that. But I don't talk about that much because this is not an organization channel. But in that regard, I am not treating my books as I treat the rest of my lifestyle. And I think I kind of want that to change. So the epiphany I'm having right now is I think what I want to do is when I get to each section, I am going to try narrowing each section down to just the books I am genuinely interested in reading, and also using that time to do a bit of experimentation, because there are a few that I'm not sure, as with the Chris Long Knife one. Like, I think I want to read it, but I'm worried I won't like it. Whereas the other two, I just don't think I'm going to get to it. And then it made me think about The Wicked Game, the Smith Reddy book, the urban fantasy that I looked into. And I have recently done Project Urban Fantasy, where I created a whole list of urban fantasies that I'm interested in. And even today on the audio sale, I bought every single Jane Yellow Rock book by Faith Hunter. I bought most of the Ally Beckstrom series by Devin Monk. I bought everything by Sheena McGuire, all the October Days, all the Encryptids. I have so many urban fantasies that I want to read. And I even bought Valor's Choice, the Confederation series by Tanya Huff, which kind of gives me, like, I picked those up as kind of for the same feel as I would in urban fantasy. But anyway, I have all of these books, and nowhere in any of these contemplations did it even occur to me to add Wicked Game to the lineup. Like, I've hung on to it for so long, but I'm like, I don't know if I even want to read that one. So I love that I am taking this section by section of my library, because it really does, like, I get to percolate on every single title for a really long time, and I think it's going to benefit me in the long run. So yeah, I'm going to read the one that I said I was going to read, and then I might be burning a lot more than I thought I was going to. And I'm also, like, part of my system is I don't let things go immediately. I nominate them for eviction, kind of a nod to Big Brother. So I will set them aside in their own bin and see what it's like living without them, see how my shelves look without them, see if I miss them at all. And 9 times out of 10, I don't go back and pull things out. But I think for the duration of this series, what I'm gonna do is everything that I nominate to leave my library, or burn, if you will, I'm going to put them in bins in the garage. And, I'll probably let go of the ones for sure that I know I'm going to get rid of. And then when I'm done with the process, see how much room I have, reevaluate, see if I want to add things back in. And I'm planning on this taking a couple of years, so I don't have to make any hasty decisions. Just looking at that Mystic and Rider book by Sharon Shin and thinking, I don't think I want to read that one. I want to know if I want to read it. That's a weird kind of duality, but I'm fearful that I'm missing out on something that I really want to read. But would I rather spend time this month reading that, or continuing in series that I know I'm absolutely loving? And would I rather have that book on my shelf, or would I rather have space for a comfy couch in that room? So it's kind of like a opportunity cost analysis. So anyway, some weird stuff going on. Per the audio sale, oh my gosh, I've spent $300 on audiobooks today, but I think it's totally worth it. The only reason I made my way through the Dresden Files, I love that series now, but the only reason I kept going is because I came across a sale like this where each book was under $5, and so I picked up the whole thing at once. And I think that's the only reason I kept going. And I've been really wanting to read the Jane Yellow Rock series. I read the first 2 or 3 and really liked it, but I'm like, I'm not willing to spend a full credit on each successive book. And for me, my physical reading time I spend on high fantasy. I don't waste time, if you will, on urban fantasies when they're so readily available as audio, and they're perfect for like cleaning and stuff. But anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna be doing a update on my audio book hoarding challenge, and it's not going to go well. I added so many books today. I even added like a few Esselmont novels in the Malazan world, just everything I didn't have. I added a few Dritz books that I didn't have yet, and just basically beefed up my TBR for the next like 10 years. So with all of that to read, would I rather experience those, or would I rather force myself through a couple of series that I wasn't planning on getting to within the next 10 years anyway? So that's where I'm at. So the saga continues. Okay, time for the first update on Chris Longknife. I've marked where I am, about 4 chapters in, and I'm doing this one on audio, and I have to say the audio narrator is not my favorite. She keeps splitting up sentences unnecessarily, so she will have a really awkward pause for no reason between sentences. It's maddening, and it's got this like such weird cadence. So I can look past weird narration most of the time because I do a lot of text to speech, and so yeah, you just kind of get used to it after a while. But yeah, not one of the stronger. She's definitely not enhancing the text. So far, nothing to write home about. The backstory is kind of interesting with this character. She's obviously a very skilled person, but I can tell already that any kind of depth we're going to get is from the author explaining what the depth is. It's not going to come organically like it kind of does in like The Expanse, for example, when he takes a lot of time to really immerse you in the character's POV, and there's just such depth of humanity in something like that. In this, it's very surface level. I mean, we know she's been through trauma because there have been a couple of flashbacks, but I don't feel it from her. I'm being explained to that it happened to her. It is entertaining. The basic storyline, if I'm going to read fluff, it's a pretty decent fluff. Like, it's not atrociously written or anything, it just doesn't have the same type of depth that I would want out of it. So now I'm wondering, I've been taking time away from The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, which is like the epitome of amazing storytelling so far and such rich characters, so much depth. And I'm taking time away from that to read this, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I reading this over that? There are quite a few shelves that have books on them that I am just dying to get to. The shelf that we got first is not one of them. Most of these titles I am just kind of like, meh, maybe eventually. So this is more of a burn hoard situation than a read situation, I think. I'm going to keep going on this, maybe a chapter a day for the rest of the month, and let you know if anything improves. But now I've got to evaluate the rest of the series. Here's another thing that's holding me up. So I have about 8 or 9 books in this series in stripped paperbacks, meaning they don't have covers. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, I will never use my physical reading time to pick up those physical copies. I just won't do it. There are so many other things that I'd rather physically read more, and my time is so limited. So that leaves me with the audiobook option. And right now, Audible is holding this amazing sale where these books are available for like $3 a piece. But normally, they're about a credit's worth, so like $10. And I am reading this right now thinking, is this pointless? Am I really going to be willing to spend $10 on each successive novel? And looking at it, there were like 17. So is this series good enough to warrant $170 of my hard-earned money just to continue? When put in those depressing terms, the answer is an absolute no way. Especially since I could clear that space and spend $170 to buy books on my TBR that I actually want to read within the next year. I think my attitude may be a little different if this were available at my library as audio copies. I probably would enjoy a fluffy science fiction read every now and then, but yeah, as is, opportunity costs, really have to take that into account. And it does not help matters that I just finished Michael Memme's Misfit Soldier, new book out from him, one of my favorite sci-fi authors, and his book was a lot of fun. I wouldn't call it fluff by any means. It always has a lot of substance and great characters, but by comparison, like that one, I was just so bright-eyed and engaged and thought it was awesome. And then just read John Scalzi's The Kaiju Preservation Society and found that one wildly entertaining, was hooked from the very first page. And this one, I'm just like, I'm kind of forcing myself through it. But true to the nature of the challenge, I am going to continue it though and see where we're at in a month. I don't know, but for now, it's not looking so good for this series. This is going to be a heavy burning month, I think. Good morning. This is not going well so far. I'm about 20% of the way in, and what they call the inciting moment, the thing that lets you know what the book is supposed to be about, has not happened yet. And a good rule of thumb is, to keep your reader engaged, you need to have that inciting moment by the 20% point at the very least, but I would even argue that the earlier the better. Like, if you can include it on the first page, that's awesome. So there's really nothing driving this plot at the moment. We have a very poor little rich girl scenario, neglected by her parents, joined the military to kind of deal with some trauma, which, I mean, the poor little rich girl thing is not something I enjoy reading about. The character is not relatable at all. And so far, she's not doing anything to show me her own merit. And then on top of that, the trauma that she's carrying around, where when someone even just mentions it, oh my God. Yeah, that's not working for me either. I mean, first of all, they're incredibly wealthy. And so a few sessions with a really good therapist would help her work through this and not blame herself for it. But even providing that her parents are neglecting her enough that they didn't even realize she needed therapy, and she didn't realize she needed therapy to work through this. She's in the military.
Like, they have to do some sort of psychological evaluation for you to get in, presumably. And they would never let someone that unstable in their ranks without help, professional help, as like a requirement. So, and it's not even interesting trauma. It's more just an excuse for the character to be a little melodramatic here and there. I don't feel the feelings that she has. I'm just being told about them. And she's having reactions here and there, and yeah, this is very thin. And honestly, those two things are not plots. Those are backstories. So it kind of feels like we're getting one big long backstory. And here's what the cover looks like. And right now, at this very moment, she is planetside in someone's kitchen talking about flour and Ghirardelli chocolates. Like, we are so far removed from what I signed up for at this point. There's not even an overarching, like, military plot going on. We are just meandering through this woman's life and doing it very poorly. So, for the sake of curiosity, I'm giving it maybe another 10% to see if some sort of inciting moment happens, but bar that, this is going to be a very easy DNF for me. Whatever plot reveals itself, if any, is going to have to be really good to convince me to keep reading this story.
Okay, so I made it a few chapters further. I'm at about the 25% mark, and as it turns out, not only is the main character a poor little rich girl, but she is a petulant poor little rich girl. I'm over it. I'm not interested in reading more about her. And so I think 25% I feel good at calling a DNF, especially since I can pinpoint exactly why this book isn't working for me. So yeah, I'm free to try something else. I have some ideas on what I'm going to pick up next, and yeah, I'll check back in when I'm back home with my library. I'm out driving about right now, obviously. At the point that I'm stopping at, there is a little bit of a hint on what the overall conflict is going to be, but it's not Chris's conflict. It's her parents' conflict, and she's just floating around right now and not really engaged in anything, and so I doubt there's going to be any sort of growth. And yeah, like I said, I feel pretty good about putting this one down, and it's kind of nice. I really do like how beautiful the rainbow of spines looks on my shelf, but it is kind of nice knowing that I can unhaul those without compunction. It's a week later, and I thought it's a good time to give you an update on my Read, Burn, Hoard project. First off, officially DNFing Chris Longknife, Mutineer, and all of the books in this series are up for burning. I'm not enjoying it. I don't like the main character. I don't like the way the story is being told. So I'm glad I gave it a go. I kind of wish I'd made it a little bit farther before calling a DNF. About 25% though. And even at that point, like, the purpose of the story still wasn't clear. So I feel confident about this, and I also feel comfortable in letting go all of those stripped paperbacks that I would never probably actually physically read and get around to anyway. So there's that. And I still have a little time left in this month, so I did decide to go ahead and pick up an audio copy of Mystic and Writer by Sharon Shin. As you can see, I have 2 books here with covers. It's a very important distinction. The fact that I paid money for these makes me think that, yeah, I really should at least give them a try. The audiobook that I got was only like $3 or $4, and Audible is great. They have a return policy, so if I end up hating it, I can just let it go. But either way, I kind of want to know definitively if this is going to work for me or not. So I'm going to take the next week and get as far into this one as I can before making any decisions. Speaking of decisions, I feel like the number of books that I'm leaning towards burning is going to freak a few people out. Let me explain where I'm at with all of this. A lot of these books that I have don't have covers. They're strip copies that I got while working as a bookseller back before e-readers had been invented, back before everything had been digitalized, back before audiobooks were something you could access on your phone. You had to actually go to the library,
or heaven forbid, pay like $50 and buy the actual disc set and listen to it in your car. So back when I collected all of these books and felt the really desperate need to hang on to all of them, that was when the only way to read those books was to have the physical copies. Now, with the digital age, everything is at my fingertips. I am looking at it with new eyes of the reason for hoarding all of these is no longer serving me. The purpose for it is no longer relevant. I can still get these titles even if I don't have the physical copy on my shelves. And it'd be one thing if these were all beautiful paperbacks that I spent cold hard cash on, but no, these don't even have covers. So if I end up really loving them, I'd probably want to buy them, replace them with actual complete copies anyway. And so worst case planning scenario, oh my gosh, what if I let these go and then suddenly the rights are revoked for the ebook or audiobook and I can't get them digitally anymore? I have seen it happen occasionally. It occurred to me that most of the books on this shelf, if I let them go and never had access to them again, it would not cost me any sleep.
I actually started this one a couple days ago, and I'm only in the middle of chapter 2, but I think where I'm at with this project on this particular shelf is I don't want to spend time reading this one right now, but I'm far enough along in it to know that I think I like the basic writing enough to hang on to it. So I might make it a little further before I wrap up this vlog, but I think I'm going to end up just hoarding this one for a little bit while longer. It may not make the cut next time, but for now, I'm not quite ready to let it go, and I'm not really in the mood to explore it in depth. One of the reasons I wanted to do this series was to give myself the excuse to read books that I'm super fired up about getting to, but never seem to make the time for. And unfortunately, everything on this shelf was either so high a priority that I don't feel good starting it right now, or so low a priority that I'm evaluating for getting rid of. So hopefully with the next shelf, I can have that, those 1 or 2 series that I can point to and say, I'm definitely excited to read those. I'm going to pick them up this month and tell you how they are. For now, I've explored this one enough to know that I need more time on it, so we're hoarding for now. I'm pretty sure I'm done with the reading aspect of this project for the month. So now it's into organizing what I'm gonna do with the books that I'm planning to unhaul. So here in my garage, I've got a spare empty bin. And as I decide that I'm gonna burn the books, I'm going to bring them out and put them in here. And I will see how many of these I can fill up over the next couple of years. And when I'm completing the project, I will go through and see if I want to save anything and kind of let the rest go. But I do like this holding cell method. It's part of my whole decluttering process. If you're not sure about something, hang on to it for a while. I might let a few things go before the end of the couple of years. It depends on how out of control this will get. But yeah, I'll keep you updated as we go along. I'm sure I'll change my mind, I always do, but that's what I'm doing for now. So my next update will probably be me officially going through and telling you which ones I'm burning and which ones I'm hoarding.
Good morning. Today I'm wrapping up my very first month of Read, Burn, Hoard, and it has been a ball. I am so fired up about this series, and I can't wait to see what my entire unread collection is going to look like after I finish going through everything in such heavy detail. Now, this month, I focused more on the books that I wasn't sure on, kind of read a few as an experiment to see if I'd like them, if I want to keep them or not. And my intention when I set up this program was to use this as an excuse to read the best books on each shelf, the ones that I know I want to read. I want to finally get around to those. But I only had the 3rd book in the Scalzi series, so I didn't want to dive into that one quite yet. And then the Inda series, it's Malazan dense, and I am currently reading Malazan and don't want to have too many of those going at once. I'm also reading Malice by John Gwynne, so yeah, that would have been a hard sell. So instead this month I focused more on the I'm not sure titles, and I'm kind of happy I did because I was able to make a couple of hard decisions and ones that I feel very much at peace with right now. But next month, I'm really hoping I pick a shelf that has a series on it that I've been just like dying to read but have never made time for. So let's go through and do the official read, burn, hoard ritual. Okay, this is what the section looks like right now. So, Last Emperor, Hoarding. The Inda series by Sherwood Smith. Absolutely, definitely hoarding. Can't wait to get around to that one eventually. I do have a goal to at least read this first book by the end of the year, but we shall see. I have been back and forth on these so many times. I don't see myself getting to them within the next 10 years, even though I just bought an audio copy of this first one to kind of give it a go. But I found myself just not interested in starting something random just to see if I wanted to keep it or not. Like, that's a lot of time and investment. So I think for this point in time, I am going to hoard those and see where I'm at in a few months. I might keep staring at them over the next few weeks and decide to burn them. Okay. Summer at Castle Oddburn. Burning. Chris Longknife Mutineer. Burning. All of these other Mike Shepard books. Burning. Okay, all these Forgotten Realms. Burning. Wicked Game. Burning. And the next 2 books in that series. Burning. So, on this shelf, I am left with those maybes. Sherwood Smith book. Inda. And The Last Emperor. That's not how I'm going to organize that. Hang on. Hardcover books go wonky if they're faced out too long. Learned that the hard way as a bookseller. Anyway, so let me back up a little bit for perspective. But this is what I'm left with on that shelf. And I've got that one faced out, but I don't care about it. Just so you don't question the contradiction. Anyway, so that is a nice bit of space created. One step closer to getting a chair in here. Now let's take these candidates for burning out to the holding cell in the garage. Okay, it's really dark in here, but first month in and already we're doing well. That wraps up March's experiment. Let's see. I'm going to pick out the number for what shelf I'm going to be going through in April. And I'm not going to show you what the shelf is, but I'm going to show you what the number is. We'll go from there. Ooh, shelf number 2. I know there's some good stuff on this one. I can't wait. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this random experiment. I'm having so much fun. I hope it's been fun to watch, and I will see you next month. Bye.